Well, all right. Welcome aboard. Welcome, Brian, to my podcast. Happy to have you on board. May the Lemmy be with you and also with you. I'm just opening this thing up, kicking it up. And that's what I know, man. Talking about this and that and the other thing. And we're going to be talking concerts. Hey, man.
Hey, man. Oh.
Welcome to Sunday night. I lost you.
Is my mic on?
Oh, there you go. Great.
All right, cool.
Welcome aboard, man. Where are you calling in from?
Fort Worth, Texas.
Nice.
Yes. Hot. Very hot right now.
I'm sure you're just about at the melting status at this point.
Yeah, they're comparing this to our summer of 80.
No way.
Yeah. So I'll do a temperature check right now.
Please update me.
It's been too hot really to do anything this summer. So yeah, let's see what we got right now.
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll. It's kind of tame today. It's 100.
Oh,
usually it's like 107, 109. It's been.
I didn't want to call you a pussy so far into this, you know. 100. Come on.
Yeah, it's like Friday it was 105 or 107. So
oh my God.
Yeah. So
I'm in Fort Worth once a year in December, and by the time I get there, it's pretty civil, you know.
Right. So what do you do when you get into Fort Worth?
I do a tour called Jingle Ball, and we always start the tour in Dallas or Fort Worth. The past couple of years, we've been doing the that new arena in Fort Worth.
Dickies?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, the Dickies Arena, where it's made up. They built it, designed for rodeos and all that shit. Which, hey, that's what you do, you know.
Right. So is that like a local radio station sponsored event?
I go in with the I work for the company Clear Channel.
Okay.
That it produces it, and downstream of that, I'm with the sound company.
Oh, okay.
The audio vendor that provides the audio package for the 10 dates that tour exists, you know.
Okay. Well, now I'm gonna have to put that in the back of my mind, and I'm gonna have to reach out to you when that happens.
Oh, please do, because I always have since that's the first day of the tour, I always have a load-in day.
Okay.
You know, so I could go in, get the PA up and all that nonsense, and then the next day, release the Kraken.
Yeah.
All chaos breaks out, you know. So tell me, have you been in the concert business, audio business?
No, I just like going.
Hey, love that. Love that. What great shows have you seen?
Oh, I generally go to rock and hard rock stuff primarily. The last year and again this year we'll go to Louder Than Life in Louisville. We got to see Metallica 2 nights.
Terrific.
There. And out of curiosity, when y'all were talking about on one a few weeks ago about backing tracks, it seems to me that they're a band that only uses intros. I mean, you can tell when it's recorded music, but they play live. Have you ever worked with them?
Metallica? Yes. That's a yes. And a friend of mine is their monitor mixer and has been with them forever. They're the kind of camp where there's no a lot of transition in their crew. You know, they're pretty rock solid. And if they are playing to any tracks, I will say this: it's become a standard in our industry. And back to what my buddy Mark said, you know, you have to kind of look these days in the 21st century, you got to look at it as a total entertainment package. You know, it's turned into the rarity these days that somebody shows up and does not have some kind of Pro Tools rig that rolls, man.
Yeah, which I could see that, but I like hearing as live as I can. Like
Oh,
the Motley Crue stuff, it's obvious there's so much backing
yeah.
tracks. I mean, when you can hear a rhythm guitar when when the lead is being played as a solo, now that
Yep.
doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, listen, there's certainly some sloppy standards out there, where it's a combination of who's lazy, who's not doing it right, who's mixing it, who's listening to who, and usually it's a chef's kitchen of too many chefs in the kitchen telling the mixer at the end of the day what's up and what's going down. That's a given. But yeah, a friend of mine just did an act a couple nights ago, who I won't mention, and they were 100% track. Like, and they were a great band from the 80s that everyone loves, and they're a talented bunch of guys. It's like, you're just really lazy when you want to just phone it in like that when it's 100% track.
Oh, that's ridiculous. I mean, even Kiss plays some live.
Yeah, and a lot of it, you got to think too, is that these days with all the video programming that's happening, there's you got to be on the click track, you got to be on it. That everything's got to sync. It's not the bigger the production that you're looking at, the more important that this thing's got to sync out. That there's a lot of elements riding on this thing staying at the staying at the beat. It's just what it is.
Well, since you are an audio guy, and I know you do more, it sounds like you do more mixing for the band for what they hear. But when you're out in the crowd, I noticed especially a lot of the newer acts that, let's say, are 10 to 12 years old, at Louder Than Life, they had their bass drums, and the wall of sound was so loud it was drowning out the vocals. Like Bad Religion and Skillet, both of them might have been great, but you couldn't hear the vocals.
Well, so much of that goes to guys that are just so turned on by the volume. You get behind the mixing console. I mean, if you've ever in your life, been at home and your wife's gone, your parents are gone, you got the house to yourself and you turn up your stereo, and especially you got a good one, it is some good time. When you're pushing the fader on a million watts and really moving some air, it could be exhilarating, right? And for a young guy, a younger mixer, or even older one that doesn't understand the full spectrum of what's happening here, it's easy to drive the kick drum up, boom, boom, and everyone's feeling it and everyone's thudding it. But for guys like myself that grew up in the 70s and grew up watching shows in the 70s, back then there was no predominant kick drum in the mixes of what we were hearing, and especially in the live shows, it was the bass guitar that rode that, and the whole balance of what a concert structure sounds like, it's completely changed over the years.
I was at a
and
show.
Not for the better.
Yeah.
I was at a show about 2 or 3 years ago. A band called High on Fire. Matt Pike from Sleep, and I was covering the show, so I was up in the photo pit, and my jeans were vibrating. It was so loud. I could actually see my jeans moving, and I have never experienced something so loud in my life. And I even had plugs on, but after my 3 songs, I said, man, I can't handle this.
Can't take it. On that Jingle Ball tour I do, when we play New York and Los Angeles, those are the 2 dates where it's televised. We have camera crews coming in. And so what that means to me as a technician is that instead of separating the low frequency devices evenly across the front of the stage, I can't do that because they got to put a camera track there, right? So I got to put all the subs stacked left and right, old school style, but that creates a tremendous power alley, straight ahead for any human being that's got to sit there and suffer through it, as you say. And yeah, I mean, I just really feel for the people that sit in the first 10 rows in front of that, let alone the security people. They can't escape from it.
So you said, today's topic is going to be concerts and stuff like that.
Sure.
And as time goes on, I start remembering dates like, man, damn, that show was like X amount of years ago. So yesterday, 39 years ago, when Iron Maiden, Saxon and Fastway on Maiden's Peace of Mind tour. I mean, I can't believe that was 39 years ago. And I remember when I was a kid, I thought the Stones were so old, and now here I am on the downhill to I'm on the downhill to 60, and I'm reminiscing about shows I saw 39, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
It's just crazy when you think about it.
And Maiden's still just as good today as they were back then.
You better believe it. I caught them the first 10 or 11 times they rolled through Dallas Fort Worth, and yeah, you're definitely correct about that, Greg.
Yeah, tremendous band. I mean, you look at the shape that Bruce Dickinson is still in, that he still gets out there and delivers it. And the crew, the audio crew, decades ago, nicknamed him the human air raid siren, that he would blow out diaphragms of microphones, just blow the diaphragm right out, because he's putting so much energy out there. It's not a matter of how are we going to get this up in the mix. It's, you know, it's, yeah, everyone stand back. You know, and the rest of the band, I mean, come on, they're tremendous.
I would love to see what their daily workout on tour is. You know, how many hours, or do they have X amount of time that they go out and condition or do weights or whatever? Do they go out and run? I'm just curious how they stay in tip top shape when they're out on the road.
Well, you know, you could tell who doesn't. You know, you could. There are some stadium tours out there. You could tell who doesn't, and that's what it is. I mean, I've toured with bands. I tour that carry their own gyms, that carry their own everything, that carry their own fitness gear. In some cases, it bankrupted them. You know, MC Hammer carried a semi of his gym shit that he had people set up every day and didn't use. I'm sure he'd rather have that money back today. Yep.
Yeah, instead of spending on all of his entourages and stuff like that.
It's just nonsense. You just can't.
Yeah, and you were asking how Bruce gets in shape. I read an interview with him where he said before he goes on tour, he sings the entire set on rollerblades, and when he can rollerblade the entire set without losing his breath at all, he's ready.
Yeah, there you go. Because that's another guy that's not just standing there at the mic stand, you know, with a 52-inch teleprompter telling him what to say. I mean, you know, he's on the move.
Oh,
you know,
constant move.
And he's such an amazing individual. Now he's the commercial pilot. He can fly, you know, the big birds. It's just, what else is this guy wanting to do now?
Yeah, crazy. And you know, I had friends of mine that worked for them back in the 80s when Iron Maiden toured so much in the 80s that they were one of the very few bands that bought and purchased their own audio system, their own arena sound system. And they kept it in the United States at the sound company that I worked at. And so when the Maiden system wasn't doing Iron Maiden, it was with the company I worked for, and it did Sinatra. So it was just, you know, you just kind of had some kind of sympathy for the physical speakers themselves. that they spent half their year being punished with an Iron Maiden rig, and the other half just kind of easing along with Sinatra crooning through it.
I mean, I agree when you said they toured so much. I knew that they toured, but you know, back then, if you're not behind the scenes, you know, that information or those dates all over are not really readily available like they are now.
Yeah. And
so I remember when the Life After Death album came out in, was it spring of '85 or like, you know, the after they did the Power Slave tour, and they had the little picture book insert and it had all the dates listed, and they had a show that was 80 miles south of me I did not even know about, or I would have driven down there to it because it was a straight shot down the highway. Yeah, they logged a lot of miles. I think they had like 8 or 10 dates just in Texas.
Oh, incredible. You know, they were out there pushing it, and their management had the vision to make them the cult that they are. You know, that their fans are as cultish as they get, and will show up and buy the merch and buy the new Sting and go out and do it, and they deliver. You know, you buy an Iron Maiden ticket, you know that most likely they are not going to cancel. They're going to show up. They're going to be sober. They're going to deliver. You know, Greg, you've seen Maiden, I'm sure, many times.
Yeah, actually, I've seen them the last 2 tours, and then I actually have tickets to go see them September 15th in Tulsa.
Nice.
Oh, there you go. I don't even know if they're coming through here or not on this tour. I'll have to go take a look. The last time they were here,
They may be playing Dos Equis.
God, I hate that place. Amphitheaters, to me, no, not in Texas, unless the show's in September or October.
No one wants to play a shed in Texas in the summertime. Nobody. I used to do those kind of rock tours where you'd go out and do the amphitheaters across America, and go, the Texas, the Mississippis, the Memphis, all of that stuff through the South, where it's just a tough sweater. Yeah.
I wanted to go see I think it was the Slipknot Fest a couple of years ago, but it was at the very beginning of September, and I knew not to go, even though I was credentialed and I could photograph the show. I knew no, and it was like 105 that day in the shade. Yeah, forget that. No.
How long have you been doing
they
photography?
headlined the second night of Louder Than Life this year. That's going to be an experience. I've never seen them. It's going to be interesting.
To answer your question, my first quote real show to photograph was Slippery When Wet in February of '87. But then, life takes you in different directions. So I put my cameras down for X amount of years. And then I've only recently, like in the last 2.5, 3 years, picked them back up. And then, I've been making so many sacrifices as a single dad to my daughter, and she's 20 now, basically.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Everybody said, you know what, you need to start spending some cash on you. And so
I agree with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, since I used to do it back in the day, I would shoot newspaper. I knew what I needed to get and what type of glass I wanted. And so I walked away from the classroom as a teacher just at the end of May. So now I will have some side hustles. House is paid off, and now I'm going to be shooting my tail off, whether it's sports or concerts.
Nice, man.
Yeah, it's really something.
Greg, tell me about the first concert you went to.
My first concert was ZZ Top, and I believe Jeff Healey. Jeff Barnes, some guy from Australia, was opening. That would have been probably 1986 in Barton Coliseum in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Nice, man. What stands out for you the most from that show?
Yeah, I mean, I primarily see my shows in Little Rock, and we're getting better shows now, but for the longest time, we got the up and comers. Like Maiden used to play here all the time until the Power Slave tour. They've never come back again.
Oh, sucks.
But we're getting better shows, and so it makes it more fun. We get to see the Black Crowes next month, which that ought to be interesting.
Greg, send me a DM when we get done with this, and I'll hook you up. I got a buddy on that tour.
Oh, cool! Thanks.
Get you some.
And actually, I'm actually coming to New York Tuesday with my wife and son and one of his friends. Is there anything that's a must do or must see besides, like the Empire, the normal stuff everyone knows about?
It's funny. I was just in Times Square 2 nights ago. I went down for a one day gig. And just hanging in Times Square, let me ask you first. Let me ask you, what is your purpose of coming to New York City?
To see the city primarily.
Just
My son and
tourism.
I went a few years ago, but we're going to go see the Yankees and the Mets.
Great.
And, do that fun stuff. And
Perfect.
then whatever.
Perfect. Well, you know what? When you send me that DM, right, I will send you a phone number from my favorite restaurant in New York City, where you can get a chicken cutlet salad for $7, and it's going to be one of the best salads you ever had in your life. It's just delicious. All their food there is amazing, because that's this thing about New York, is that all the food near Times Square and all the tourist places is all shit. But the best food is usually the cheapest in the little hole in all the places that you would walk by. It's like, well, I'm not eating there. I mean, those are the places. Those are the places to go. So I'll give you a couple heads up on that. Couple other thing I'll tell
Cool.
you
Thanks.
is New York is not what it used to be in many ways, and it's a little rowdy, and it smells like weed everywhere, which is better than it smelling like piss. But be prepared to whiff in the skunk.
That's fine.
Yeah, while you're there.
It's a fun place to see. We enjoyed it, but we were there in March and it was rainy and 30-mile-an-hour winds.
Yep.
So it sucked.
Yeah, I lived in the city for 17 years, and my house is I'm 110 miles north. I'm up in the Catskills, so I'm really far from the crazy zone, But there's a lot of things to do. I mean, definitely go down to Chinatown and go hang down there and get something off menu. I mean, when I'll send you a couple of choice spots to go hit up. But basically enjoy New York. Don't get in a pedicab, because you'll be shocked how much those guys want to charge you for pedaling around the block.
Yeah, no, we actually got passes on the double deckers. So, because it'll take you, pretty close to where you want to go, and then you walk a few blocks and you're there.
Yeah, it's a great method. And they change the name of that bus lines every couple of years, because there's always some tourist that gets killed and sues the company, and they change the name. So be wary of that. Be wary of that. And New York is a big safari. You got to pay to get in. And it's what it is. There's so many things to do. I mean, all the time that I was there, my 17 years, is I worked. I was at Radio City Music Hall for a decade, and I was at Madison Square Garden for 5 years. So it's 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. 7 days a week for me. So that's how that was, But I certainly enjoy your time in the city,
Yeah, and of course, my wife, we're going to go to a Broadway play. I'm going to appreciate it at 51 a lot better than I did at 14.
Yeah, and when you talk about like just quality of production, right? There is no better standard than a Broadway show. Because the show that you see at 8:00 on Wednesday is the exact show you'll see at 2:00 on a Saturday. It's the exact same every time. It's wash, rinse, and repeat. It's not like a concert or a concert tour. Concert tour, you nailed it every night. You do it the same, but it's not exactly the same. And it's not perfect every time. And that's what a Broadway show is. I mean, that's why those shows load in for months at a time. They rehearse for a year. I mean, the product, when you sit in your seat and the curtain goes up, the product that you are witnessing and experiencing was, years in the making.
Yeah, I saw a couple shows when I was 14, and it was cool. And we go see them here some, but I'm looking forward to seeing, getting a whole production of Broadway going.
Well, when you go see the tours that come to your town, you're seeing actors that are on the way up or on the way down, but they're on their way.
True.
My granddaughter just stage managed the junior high school, I think, a production of Annie.
Oh, that's cool.
So I was thrilled to see my granddaughter wearing a headset and bossing people around. Go get them. And they had an actor drop off at the last second, and she did the lines from off stage. I said, that is what stage management is all about, is stepping up, and making it happen. And people drop out and people don't show and this and that, but you gotta move on. You gotta keep it moving, right?
When did you start doing your thing? Like working, did you start in the 70s?
I worked my first concert in 1974.
Oh, okay.
You know, I was born in 62,
Okay.
so yeah, 74, I was 12. And the guys that babysit me had a band, and they would take me out on the weekends because my mom worked nights.
Okay.
And I would just go with them and into the nightclubs and set up the PA and set up the back line and set up the gear. And when Steve, the audio guy, got too drunk and passed out, then I'd start mixing the show, usually around midnight, 12:30.
So you got 3 years on me. I was born in 65. So that's cool.
Yeah. And that's it. And I dropped out of school when I was 15 years old. I have an 8th grade education. And I worked at landscaping, and I did dishwashing, and I had my own apartment. And at night I would do concerts, working shows. And back then nobody gave a fuck about 18 and over, 16 and over. Nobody cared.
Oh. I'm the one that's messaged you a couple times about saying, hey, I would go see family up in Cleveland during the summer. So Cleveland's got a close place in my heart because my cousins and my grandparents on my mom's side up there.
Nice. Yeah, I lived in Cleveland my whole life. Well, until I was 37 years old, and I escaped and immigrated to New York City because I didn't want to tour. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life touring.
Right.
And when you work for the band, when the band stops working, then you stop working. Mm-hmm. And then you want to work locally. Well, that's sucked up all the local guys. And then living in Cleveland, working locally is seasonal, because you don't work in the winter because there's no concerts. So that's when, your heating bills are high and you're starving, and the feast and famine that it is. And, and touring all year long. I had 20 years of it. I had enough. I've worked in 30 countries. I've seen enough. I like being closer to home now. And now I only work once a month. I just go out. It's right where I want to be. I wasn't even planning on working this month. I got pulled into that thing in Times Square yesterday. But the next thing I do is Video Music Awards, which is a big monstrosity of an event.
I would imagine.
We load in for weeks at a time. I mean, this load in is now so big that I'm going to go down to load in for 3 days, then come home for 4 days, and then go back for 9 days, and then do the show. Because for a show like that, like I said, it's just a monstrosity. And every band that we sound check, we give 3 hours to. It's 3 hours of camera blocking for each song that they do. So if an artist is going to do 2 songs, that's 6 hours of rehearsal time allotted to them. So it's easy to eat up the time. Plus a show like that is completely fluid with who is 100% scheduled to be there, and they change that shit all the time. And the MTV factor, they like drama because it's good for ratings. Last year we had the drama with that McGregor, that boxer dude, MMA dude.
Conor McGregor. Okay.
That's it. And getting into it with this artist named Machine Gun Kelly. And they had some kind of kerfuffle. In between, after the guy had done his sound check, right? And then after we did what we do the day of show, we do what they call a Q to Q, where we do the entire show top to bottom one time through, right? We just make sure everything's going to flow the way we want it all the way through. And it takes 3 hours, whatever it takes, right? So we got that done. Then there's this thing backstage with him and McGregor. but the joys of live television and people losing their shit.
Yeah.
It's all about who's going to stay cool and stay calm. And that doesn't always work out for everybody. And some people just really start freaking out. What are you going to do? I mean, for that show, that's my this is my 25th year of doing Video Music Awards. First year I did it was 97, and the headliner was the Spice Girls. If anyone's old enough to remember what that was about. We had Sporty Spice and this Spice and Old Spice,
Baby Spice and
Scary Spice.
Scary, thank you. Scary Spice. Yeah, all spiced out, standing on those stupid high shoes that they had, bobbling their heads. It was some with the track rolling, that was some time for music, for pop music. Right. Who also played that show was the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
Aren't they kind of like a big band style?
Yeah, that's like a ska style. Is ska the right style to say? I mean, I'm not sure, but a bunch of guys dancing around. Horn section.
Yeah,
horn
okay,
section
that's what I'm
sure.
thinking. You got a horn section.
Yep, and some plaid clothes.
Yeah, okay.
Back when plaid made the big comeback.
That's right, in the early 90s.
Yeah. Boy, the early 90s was great time for the nightclub business.
Why is that?
Well, there was just so many bands playing and touring and all these different genres. I mean, I remember I worked at a roadhouse in the early 90s called Peabody's in Cleveland.
I know what you're talking about.
And one night I would have David Cassidy. The next night would be a bluegrass band. Then it would be Guar. And the next night would be the Dead Kennedys, and then would be back to like Bobby Sherman or some crazy ass 60s thing back and forth. But it was always packed, and there was an area in Cleveland called the Flats at that time. They had a bunch of nightclubs, and the nightclubs were always full. The club scene was hopping.
Were the Flats out by Lake Erie?
Yeah, right on the mouth
lake
of the river. Yep.
Okay. All right.
And since I left, they didn't keep it up, and they didn't keep it very nice. And there's some bulldozers, and maybe some buildings came down, and someone wanted to redesign it and redo it. I mean, because anytime you have something that's working, that's the time to change it.
Yeah.
Right. Seems the way. Is there much of an entertainment district in Fort Worth?
Sundance Square, but it's more touristy. A bunch of restaurants. If you say, then you got the Stockyards in North Fort Worth, Billy Bob's.
Oh, you know what? I've been to that square that you're describing.
Sundance Square.
Yeah, I was there last December.
Yeah, the Bass Brothers own the majority of that area. I don't know if that name rings a bell to you, but
yes,
they're billionaires.
I've lived in the South. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of them's married to like one of the heirs of the Walmart, Sam, daughter of Sam Walmart or something like that. You got the Stockyards north of Fort Worth, but that's more country. But I see Billy Bob's bringing in more, rock acts. They'll have Blackberry Smoke come in. Nugent just played a couple nights ago.
Nice.
Now you got this big entertainment district in Dallas called Deep Ellum. And that's where you have your larger live music clubs, but things are getting kind of rough out there again. And so people are saying, no, I don't want to go out there. They will actually shut the streets down, and you can't leave during a certain point because traffic gets so bad.
Yeah.
The last time I went out there, I mean, I'm in traffic. We're just trying to creep along, and you got these kids on these electric scooters that you can, rent. And they're just like, they're weaving in and out of traffic at high rates of speed. And it's like, I don't want to hit somebody because I don't want to be held liable for something like that. So I stay away from that area. So I try to.
I don't blame you.
Do, yeah. I don't need to go down there. I did my time 25 years ago. You know, got plenty of memories.
Yeah, my wife and I, we lived in Miami right before the pandemic.
Okay.
You know, so I know what it's all about, living someplace where it's all happening.
Mhm.
Right when you walk out your door, you know.
Yeah.
It's a
That
mixed
changed
bag.
a lot of things.
It's a mixed bag. Oh, crushed me, put me out of work.
Yeah. Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
You're totally right.
Oh yeah, I was lucky because me and a very small group of people, we were the only audio people in the country working because I was in the bubble with the NBA, doing the NBA games.
Uh,
Tell us your first concert that you went to.
I think I told you that already on Facebook, but I was about 15, 16, and I was living in Chicago at the time with my parents, of course, and there was a contest on the radio to see Peter Frampton at Soldier Field. And Frampton Comes Alive had just been released. Or Do You Feel Like I Do? And Baby, I Love Your Way was all over the radio. And I had posters of them in my room, so I called the radio station, and my parents said, you can go if you win, thinking I wouldn't win, and I won. So I took the bus, and off I went, saw them at Soldier Field. I was blown away with the voice box and all that. It was new to me.
Yeah, just the whole experience. I mean, just being in a place with, how many thousands of people while the whole thing's going on and the energy in the room. I mean,
Yes.
it's a lot to take in.
I wish I did what you guys do for a living.
Oh, no, no. You don't want that. Hey, everyone.
Are you even interested in anymore? I mean, MTV is a joke now, as we know. No talent's going to be there, probably.
Oh, let's be clear. I don't care. I don't care who's on the stage. It's, as I say, I'm there for the income, not the outcome. Any monkey that you wind up and put on the stage and hit the cymbals together, that's fantastic. And as you say, I do have a lot of great stories, and I have had a lot of amazing rock and roll moments. But that said, it is dwarfed by the thousands of hours that I've spent at some horrible ass event, out in the rain, out in the mud. I mean, I've driven a tractor trailer in 48 states and 3 provinces of Canada. I've been through the gamut of it, and I get to say that I'm on the 1% of the production now, but I clearly remember when I wasn't. And I remember 1997 when I was home 45 days out of the year, and my annual income was $35,000, and that is not a lot of money to be home 40 days in a year. And I was driving. It's not like I'm lazy or wasn't doing the work. I mean, I was driving the truck, putting up the PA, mixing the show, but our industry, and especially in the Midwest, the pay scale was driven by what was the circus business and the carnival business. Like in the 1970s, 1980s, the concert business was modeled after how they do circuses and carnivals, right? Because what do you do with a circus and a carnival? You take it, you pack it all up, you take it to the next city, you set it all up, and you pack it all, and you keep doing that, right? And what do you do with the employees? Right. Well, you're providing them, you're paying for them to move from town to town. So let's minus that. You're paying for them to stay somewhere. So we'll minus that. You might throw some food at them. So let's minus that. And technically they only work X amount of hours of the day, even though you have them captive for 24 hours of the day, and they're incapable of going anywhere else, doing any other fucking thing. Right. You see where I'm going with this? And then you add someone like me who is an audio tech that could drive a truck. Oh, hey, you could drive the truck? Well, you're going. So, so you think that I made the money that the truck driver made, right? No. They just got rid of the truck driver. That's what happened. You know, and
Wow.
I drove semis, like I drove nonstop from Boise, Idaho to Las Cruces, New Mexico. And I don't know if you know how far that is, but I'll help you out, right? That's this far on a fucking globe, right? On a globe, it's this far. It's across the continent, right? I've driven
Yeah.
nonstop from Grand Rapids to Key West. I've done Boston to Seattle. I've driven and I'm not talking some rinky-dink show. Pulling a semi loaded top to bottom, 80,000 pounds of every inch of audio gear, taking it to the next show and doing it for fucking pennies. You know,
Were you
so
alone driving, or was someone with you, or
most
you
of the time
alone?
alone. Most of the time alone.
Damn.
Yeah, the one
Don't know
time
how
that I
you did
wasn't
it.
alone, and one of the guys that was on here earlier talking about Metallica was with Metallica's monitor guy, and the last day of the tour, we left Dallas, Texas. We left Dallas, Texas, and it was March 1st, 1997. We left Dallas, Texas, and we drove to Little Rock, Arkansas on our way to Chicago. And on the way there, it was the
Your
worst
favorite city.
my favorite fucking city. And it was the worst natural disaster that ever hit the town of Little Rock. Like 27 tornadoes touched down in one day. We saw a tornado hit a horse farm. And I'm trying to drive this semi through a tornado winds, and there are literally horses being flung around us, flung in the fucking
Aw.
trees. I mean, flying horses, like right out of that movie Tornado.
Whoa.
It was unreal. And then have to drive through the
Yeah.
flooding, then have to get to my least favorite place in the world, fucking Chicago, you know, in a semi. I mean, to rant on, but just saying, I'm just
Those
saying
poor
that
horses.
the poor horses. But I had my time around the gamut, and wages in our industry always sucked. And for a lot of people that I know that are still touring, the wages have been flat for a long time. Ticket sales are through the roof. We're not getting any of that money. You know, there's a lot of mouths at the trough. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like it was back in the day where there was the promoter and there was the band, and you'd settle with the band, you'd pay off the vendors, you know, pay their labor bill for the night, sort out with the venue, wash your hands of it, and that was it, you know. And now it is not that way. You know, I'm not that deep in that area to speak very specifically on it. I have friends that speak about it. You know, that's what I know.
Cut on out. I sure enjoyed it. Can't wait for the next one.
You're welcome anytime, brother. It was great hearing your stories, and look forward to the next one.
Yes, sir. Take care.
Be well.
All right, bye.
Sounds good. Thanks for this. I'm glad I finally figured it out.
Well, it was good having you.
Okay.
Michael
And
Saint,
we'll
it was
talk
good
to you.
having you.
He's there somewhere.
He is there somewhere. And I'm going to cut out for tonight.
Okay.
Hit my hour mark. I'd like to thank everyone for coming on. Dina, thanks for making it.
Yeah, and probably again on Wednesday too, if you have it again.
If I do, I'm trying to figure it out.
Right. Well, it takes time.
Yeah, as I do everything else, I make it up as I go along.
That's perfect. That's the way I love it.
Great. Michael Saint, have a wonderful night. Appreciate you. Dina, be well. I'll see you on the next one.